Deep breath. And we are going. Not possible to stream to Circle. Here's a thought, Tananarive. I'm streaming this to YouTube. Let me get the
Stick that up in circle.
yeah, put the YouTube link up on Circle. Who knows? It might work.
Might work.
Yeah, there it is.
I'll get right on it.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, did I accidentally pause this again? I didn't want to pause it. There we go. Well, welcome to the May 15th edition of Life Writing Live. I am Stephen Barnes. I am your genial host and creator of various technologies and perspectives that we curator of various perspectives that we discuss here. And also on the call is my beautiful and charming wife, Tananarive Du. And let's see, we had a couple of things in chat that I wanted to take a look at. A daunting task on its own. Okay, so I guess the first thing I'd love to do is to have you guys unmute yourselves and everybody say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Yes,
Hey,
give
everyone.
See you
high
all.
five.
Hello.
Great. Remember that energy is what drives you. You know, the
Hello.
first thing you do. Hello, hello. Wait a minute.
Me a minute.
Wait. There was somebody. Okay, Star
That was
Shadow.
Star Shadow. Yep.
Oh, Star Shadow.
Yeah, I'm
have.
here.
I don't.
I'm a
I
little
don't think
slow on the muting and unmuting thing.
it's okay, sweetheart. It's just good to see you here. I don't remember having been here before. You are so welcome. She's just one of my favorite people.
Oh,
A
thank
total,
you.
a total sweetheart. What I was talking about was that I've created several of the technologies we talk about here, but I also curate. And one of the things that I was talking about with my wife today, since we've got a little bit more relaxed time than I thought we were going to have, is the RPM system. And it was not, I did not create it. Tony Robbins created it, and he has an entire thing. But the basic thing is that most people's to-do lists is a list of things they feel like they have to try to get through every day, and that if you don't get it all done, you feel bad. And that what's necessary is to understand, according to the Pareto principle, what is the 20% of what you do that gets 80% of the results? What are the most important things on your to-do list? In order to be able to think that way accurately, he suggests, and there was a planner and a computer program and other stuff, but you don't need that stuff. What you need is to think in the following way. You need to think, what is it you're trying to accomplish? What is your goal? Say my goal, and I was just talking about this, is to publish a novel. Why do I want to publish a novel? Well, to express myself, to, honor my ancestors, to do this, to do that. You come up with so many whys that you're just vibrating. You've got that energy. Remember at the beginning of every one of these life writing shows, I try to get your energy up, and I encourage you to deliberately, focus and move your body in such a way. See, before I do every single one of these shows, I have to get my energy up, because if my energy isn't there, I can't help lead your energy there. So the what is clarity on your goal. The why is the fuel, of what moves you to do things. But then once you've got the why, the what is clear and the why is clear, now you create your goal list. Now you come up with the hows. It's like, I have to write a page every day. I have to do research for an hour every day. I have to find an editor. I have to get an agent. I have to do this. I have to do that. Each of those things are sub goals. Each of those things is a tiny what. Okay, and each of those whats then is connected to the main goal, which is connected to your why. So one of the things that is true about me is that I can trust myself to do the things I say I'm going to do, because I know why I need to do it, and my whys for everything I do. are connected to all three major aspects of my life. I can tell you how anything I do is going to improve my body, it's going to improve my relationship and my family's stability and safety, and it's going to make me money. Everything. I don't care whether you're talking about watching cartoons. Why am I watching cartoons? I need to rest and relax and recover. It's part of the cycle of recovery so that my body can be strong. I need to dump that stress with my family. Sometimes my son likes cartoons. We can talk about cartoons together, and it's fun. It can turn into some family time. It reminds me of my childhood, and it nurtures the little boy inside me. I'll watch Johnny Quest, and I'll think, eating popcorn while I'm watching Johnny Quest on a Saturday morning, and I feel like I'm 12 years old again. And how does this make me money? Well, I'm always absorbing story pattern. It's like every day. I will watch a movie or two literally every single day. And I feel that I'm always looking for how do the rhythms of story work. And because the life writing system is about connecting the rhythms of story to the rhythms of life, so you get ideas for your writing from your life, and that you're working through your life problems in your writing. You're bringing those two worlds together. So I can watch a Daffy Duck cartoon and it's helping me make money because of the things that I just said. It's increasing my energy, it's dumping stress, it's solidifying my family connections, which are important for my motivation. Why do you do something? One of the world's top coaches, I was able to buy 2 days of his time for $5,000, $6,000. And he worked with me, and what he found out was that all he had to do to motivate me was get me to think about my daughter. That any time I thought about my daughter, instantly my energy jumped. I would do anything for my kids. And when you understand what in your life, and I guess around this to make it useful to you, when you find the things in your life that motivate you every time, all you have to do is connect the things you have to do in the day to the thing that motivates you, to your gratitude. I'm grateful to have a job, and I'm gonna spend 12 hours a day shoveling crap. That sounds bad unless you realize that there's a line of people who would love to have your job because they're out of work. And if you've got that job, then you can take care of your family. So I'm not shoveling crap. I'm buying food for my kids. Okay. And it's an honorable thing to do. I'm going down to the coal mine, not because it's entertaining to go into a coal mine, but because you take care of your family. I'm burning my eyes out, sewing at midnight, for my neighbors so we have food for my kids, or my kids will have a costume for the Halloween party. My mother would stay up long after we went to bed, burning herself out to be sure that we had clothes, that we had costumes, we had whatever it was. This is what we do for the things we love deeply enough. And when you can connect, when you get clarity, what do I want to accomplish? Why do I want to accomplish it? Now, what are the intervening steps? The beautiful thing about thinking this way is you don't have to do everything on your list. All you have to do is enough to get your what. And so if your what is, I need to get 2 sales today, and I have all these different things on my list to do. If I have 20 people to call and I call the first 2 and I get 2 sales, it's Miller time. I don't have to quit. I don't have to keep going. To know what you need to do and why you need to do it can give you clarity such that you apply the Pareto principle. What are the 20% of all this crap I have to do that actually gets me 80% of the result? That's all you need to do. And the 80% is really interesting too. All this stuff kind of free associates. There's a book called The Art of Practice that is written by a juggler in the Cirque du Soleil. And he says something very interesting. He have observed ultra peak performers. You see these gymnasts, and jugglers and so forth in Cirque du Soleil, and they're literally doing superhuman things. This is not normal human activity. And he says something very interesting. The way they do it, they don't take a skill and perfect that skill. They don't. They get 80% of the way to perfecting that skill. In other words, if they're juggling 3 balls, if 80% of the time you can keep the balls in the air, then they go to juggling 4 balls. Instead of understand that. Instead of trying to get juggling three balls at 100%, never dropping. If they don't drop it 80% of the time, they add another ball. And they practice with four balls until they can do that 80% of the time. Then they go back to three balls. And what happens is that three balls, they're now doing it 90% of the time. In other words, you will improve faster by moving up to an associated skill that still uses the same basic neurology but at a higher level than you will by practicing the simpler skill until you try to get it perfect, because perfection is unattainable. It will proceed in front of you like trying to run to the horizon, or as Jerry Pournelle used to say, that finishing a book, the end of the book proceeds before you asymptotically. You get halfway there, and then you get another halfway, and then you get another halfway, but you can never really get there. It's kind of funny, but that's what it feels like. So when you set yourself up so that you move to the associated skill that is more difficult at the 80% point, instead of trying to achieve a perfection that is unattainable, then when you can get 80% of the four balls, you move to five balls, right? And when you can get 80% of the five balls, now go back and test your three balls. And basically, you'll just juggle them all day and never drop them. It's nothing in comparison. So this is just kind of a framework. I just kind of got off into it. That focus on what are you trying to accomplish? Why do you want to do it? And only then creating your to-do list. What I'm begging you guys to do is to, the minimum thing that puts you on the path that we're talking about here is to reread your goals every morning and night. If you rewrote them, even better. If you said them aloud, great. Reread your goals morning and night and do the breathing 5 times a day. Why? Because if you look at the goals in the morning, you know what you have to do during the day. Accomplishing anything that will change your life, and hopefully you are working on goals that will change your life, right? Not just keep you steady, will generate stress. If it didn't generate stress, you'd already have it. If you already knew how to do it, you'd already be doing it. When you check at the end of the day, you look back over your day and ask yourself, well, how did I do? And things that you didn't do well, you dropped out, you can ask yourself, well, why did I forget about it? And then you can either drop it off your list or you push it to the next day. But that's stressful. It could be hard to look at the fact that we don't keep our promises to ourselves, that we let fear stop us, things like that. So by breathing 5 times during the day, you're staying in the eye of the storm. If you breathe as if you are calm and powerful, your limbic system believes you are. And so will your cerebrum and your cerebellum. You'll be aligned. This task is challenging, but it does not threaten my survival. So there's no need for the level of fear that stops me from going forward. But fear comes up if the thing you're doing would change you. Why? Because your ego thinks it's you. It does. Your ego thinks it's you. So anything you do that will shatter your ego and help you grow feels like death to the part of you who defines yourself by the roles you currently have. So anyway, that's kind of what I want to talk about. Is Tananarive there? Just because she is. Alrighty. What I wanted to do today is to take a look at the hero's journey as Tananarive. We've talked about the hero's journey, and the hero is confronted with it. It's got sitting behind me. The hero is confronted with a challenge. Initially, they reject the challenge, often due to fear. They accept the challenge at some point. They set out on the road of trials, during which they meet allies and gain powers. They have their initial confrontation with evil, in which they are defeated. Inevitably, there's always, in any story, there's one point that is the greatest low point in the story. It's like a compression point before the release. That defeat sends you into the dark night of the soul. That's the moment when it feels like all of your skills and efforts are insufficient to help you get there. You just don't have what it takes. It's an awful feeling. The way through the dark night of the soul is called the leap of faith. And it's not necessarily religious faith. Religious faith is just one aspect of faith. Faith is belief in things unseen, like your own potential. I believe I can do this. One belief that has really served me through life is that there is no goal that I can hold continuously in my heart over time that I do not have a way to bring into existence. I believe that. I have believed that with my whole heart. I always function that way. If I can dream it and keep that dream, it's because there's some part of me that can actually do it. That's my belief. I can't prove it's true, but that is a belief I've had since childhood. So if you can believe in yourself, you can believe in your companions, like your teacher says you can do it, or your brother says, go ahead, jump, I'll catch you. Okay. Or you could believe in the structure of the universe, the ethical structure of the universe, or of course you could believe in God. It depends on how you are set up psychologically. But you do need, it is very useful, just as it's useful to have a motivation that's bigger than your ego, because when your ego fractures, you'll fall back. It's also useful to believe in something that you kind of feel like believes in you. And like I said, that could just be in alignment with nature, the surfer trusting, having faith in the wave, to, it could be belief in your psychology, belief in your own capacity. If you're really tired, was it Muhammad Ali said that it isn't avoiding getting knocked down that makes a champion. It's getting back up. And when you've been knocked down by somebody, you have to find something inside yourself that says, I can do this. Because if you don't believe you can do it, why get up? Why get up? So the leap of faith is one of those three things. If you take the leap of faith, the next step is that you have your confrontation with evil again, and this time you're victorious, according to the story structure. And the last step is the student becomes the teacher, that you evolve to that next level. It's not that you don't have problems, but you arrive at your problems in a limousine. I mean, there's always this. So life in that sense is not a circle; it's a spiral, and the spiral is always either going down or up. The choice is you cannot stay steady. At the very least, you're getting older. It's like you're playing chess against time, and if you keep waiting, time will take your pieces off the board. So. So Leone said that I ask the universe for the things I want. Yes, and the way you ask the universe is with your behaviors. Your behaviors are what tell the universe what you want. When you act as if you are the person who can have the thing, the universe begins to respond. It's like not the strangest secret, the secret. There are some people who look at that and say that if I want it enough, I will come. It will come. My attitude is, then you ask the question, how do you know when you want something enough? And the answer to that question is when you get off your ass and work for it. That's how you know that you want it enough. Before that point, you're playing games. So we use the hero's journey to plot stories, but we also use them to analyze stories. And we also use them to understand how to organize ourselves in the path of creating stories. So because Tananarive has had the biggest success of her career, and we're still kind of in the heat of that, and she's just turned in her next novel, and we're kind of looking at, have we found a doorway to that next level we were looking for? If my baby's found a doorway, you better believe I'm gonna get behind her and push. If she's got the ball, I'm gonna block for her. I mean, it's as simple as that. We're going to get that ball across the goal line again and again and again and again. And, I can be honest, there's a part of me that wishes I was the one carrying the ball. But something, life isn't always like that. And I have to ask myself, what's my what? The what is to escape suffering, embrace joy, and be of service. I can keep my ego out of it long enough to realize that this magnificent woman that I'm married to needs me to see her, both her strength and her softness. In looking at the hero's journey, what I wanted to do is to live in front of all of you go over the 10 steps of the hero's journey as it related not to the structure of the book, but to her creation of the book. This is where the rubber meets the road. I hope you can understand, and I hope you'll be able to apply this. And while we're talking about this, in the chat, I would like you guys to write down where you are stuck in your journey so that we can grow together and we can look at this, because the clearer this is, the better it's going to be. So, Tananari, you ready to go?
Oh, sure. I thought you were running this, but okay, yes, I'm ready to go.
Okay, so the first step is to be confronted with a challenge. What was the challenge you were confronted with in the writing of the Reformatory, sweetheart?
Which one? I mean, everything about it was a challenge. It first presented as a story that maybe should be nonfiction, since it was about a relative who had died in 1937, but I didn't want to write it as nonfiction. The research was very challenging emotionally. Every memoir I read, every interview was about terrible things being done to children. So that gets hard after immediately, like from the
Amen.
first minute, and it stays hard. Um, and so then I had some emotional blocks. And this also coincided with the period where we were making some strides into Hollywood. It was post Get Out. People had discovered Black horror all of a sudden, and we were getting a lot of meetings. We were getting a lot of showrunners just wanting to attach us to their pitch as the sort of Black voice, because as what's his face said in Get Out, Black is in. So while Black was in, we were very busy. We got our first Twilight Zone. We did a script for Miramax. So that there was a huge plantation that just burned down today. I forget what it was called, but I was thinking about that script Mercy we were supposed to write, set at an antebellum plantation that was a tourist destination, haunted and all that, and. So there were a lot of challenges, honey. Let me not blabber on. I am very tired, by the way. So if I blabber, cut me off.
Okay, I will. So I would say that your challenge was to represent a tragedy that had occurred in your family in the form of an entertainment. I mean, it's like that's kind of massive. You know, how do you do that in a respectful way? So we know that the next step is the reluctance, is the rejection of the challenge. Now, the challenge gets, why do you feel that your brakes were on? You know, say, I don't want to do this, or I'm struggling with this. What was this, once you say, I'm going to write a book about this subject, what was your greatest fear?
I mean, it was a daunting task. I don't know much about the 1930s, first of all. So let's start with that. I changed it to the 50s because I knew that a bit better from interviewing my mother and the stories she told about her childhood. But also, I'm not from the rural South. So let me just start with this. I think had I been confronted with something like this when I was in college or right out of college, I would have been, hell no, that's not my story to write. I don't know anything about cornfields and the rural Southern writers like the Toni Morrisons, the Alice Walkers. I admired them so much, but I felt like had not shared enough experiences with them to even write Black literature. You know what I mean? Like in the sense, in terms of what was accepted as Black literature in a lot of literary circles. So I was writing horror in the suburbs. That's my lane, suburban horror. Um, so that imposter syndrome is what I'm trying to say. I had
Thank you. That's
immense
it.
imposter
That was
syndrome.
it. You asked me to stop you,
Yeah, yeah.
so please, you gave
I
me
get it.
permission,
I'm so
a little bit
tired.
rude. Okay. No, no, no. So all I'm saying is that was it. It
Yeah,
was imposter syndrome. You felt like you were not the one. Okay. So
yeah.
let's move on to the next step. You accepted the challenge. Why did you accept it? What was the
I
moment in
couldn't.
which you realized you were going to do it, and what motivated that decision?
Well, unfortunately, the moment I realized I had to do it was the first time I went to Marianna, Florida, where the Dozier School was located. It's where my book is set, fictionalized. And I just heard those stories by the survivors. I just couldn't believe this had been happening under everyone's noses for so many years. And these were old men now, still getting teary-eyed over things that happened in the 1940s and 1950s and 1960s. And my great uncle had died there. So I feel like there's that line from the Spike Lee movie, Malcolm X, we didn't land at Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. I feel like the book landed on me, and I felt a responsibility to write it immediately, to figure out. But the point when it changed from responsibility to joy, never actually, but
No, it's all we need here is sufficient motivation to overcome the inertia. When you finally said that you're willing to commit to it,
well,
I'm
in
going to
this
do
case,
this.
it was to honor ancestors.
There you go. Okay, so there was family and the ghosts of the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah.
In Stephen King's parlance, you have not forgotten the face of your fathers. You're you are powerfully motivated by the urge to have your mother's approval.
That's
She
true.
is with you all the time, and
Oh,
there
and
is
I
no
forgot to mention that part. Thank you for bringing that up, honey. This was my mother's uncle. My mother had passed away months before I was invited to the Dojo School. So when I say I felt a responsibility to the ancestors, I mean, obviously it was mostly to my mom.
There you go.
Yeah,
Fantastic. So that clarity. So we've got three things. The motivation was to honor her family. The fear was that she wasn't good enough to honor it. She wasn't the one. But then ultimately she realized that this was her dharma, that she needed to do this to honor her mother and her ancestors, that in some ways her whole life had been leading up to this moment. Is that accurate so far?
yeah, pretty much.
Okay, great.
Exactly.
So the next step is the road of trials. Now, the road of trials is simply all the stuff you do every day. I mean, it's research, it's writing, it's talking to people, it's this and this. So give us a sense of what your road of trials was in the creation of the reformatory.
Every day. It was, I feel like that Saturday Night Live sketch where they interview the people who were abducted by aliens, and one tells a very pleasant experience, and I'm the one who's like, oh, well, that's not what, because I usually love writing. Writing is supposed to be my happy place. This was why this was so hard for me to wrap my mind around, that I wasn't happy while I was working on this book. So it just trying to squeeze out every word, trying to track down survivors to interview, trying to find memoirs for research. We made several trips to the school. You and I made a
That's
couple.
right.
Dad and I made
That's right.
several trips to the school.
Our
Just,
son Jason went there with us.
yes, just to absorb to try to absorb the spirit of the place is the only way I can put it, and maybe,
Approximately, now it took you 7 years to write it.
yeah.
And there came a point about 5 years in where I realized that I respect your creative process so much that I don't try to interject myself into it much. I mean, to be totally honest, I think your creative process is operating at a higher level of integration than my own. It's difficult for me to say that because I have such a high level of respect for my own process. But sweetheart, you're miraculous. But I
Thank
could
you.
see that you were running into some issues there. So I began to suggest creating, when do you want to have it finished? How many pages a day would you need to do? And actually creating a chart for
And I
you.
probably
So,
resisted that for a while. I mean, you might
well,
have
of course you
mentioned
did.
it, but I don't think I did it right away for sure. I think a turning point happened, and I don't know what motivated this, but I finally just had enough wind under my wings. And this was post the Nickel Boys. I don't know if we've talked about that yet. That was another part of the road of trials, is that I
No,
learned that,
we'll get there. We'll
okay,
get there.
well, all right. So sometime after like the lowest points, after I had crawled myself out of doubt enough to just want to vow to myself, I have to finish this book. Clearly, my father's getting older. I mean, he had been a research partner, and he wouldn't be able to read it at this. So he's 90 now. So he was like, in his 80s already. I was really fearful that my father would pass away before I finished the book. So maybe that was helping to motivate me, watching him
Sure.
age.
Sure.
And
But that's
there was
that's
a
still
Mother's
honoring
Day.
that's still honoring your ancestors with the
Yeah,
realization that your father is on the edge of becoming an ancestor.
I thought he was. I mean, at this point, who knows? He
Yeah.
might outlive everybody. But
Wouldn't that be great?
No, not for him. But or
That's
maybe it would
true.
be. I don't know.
That's no.
But
He
he
wants
might
to be
be. It is what
surrounded
it
by his family.
is. But but there was. I don't know if you remember. There was a Mother's Day. And this sort of feeds into my fascination with cabin in the woods stories, which is what my last novel was. I rented a cabin in Idlewild, California by myself for Mother's Day weekend. You gave me a blessing to be by myself on Mother's Day, which is not something most mothers even ask for. Although that's what many of them secretly want.
I'm not a perfect baby, but I really love you, and I definitely try.
That was great. I mean, I'm telling you, I took my book up to that point. I reread every page of it and I outlined it to the end. And that was a huge turning point because yes, there were still going to be ups and downs and slowdowns, and I wasn't writing every day and I didn't have a chart, but I finally had a map. Like I'm an outliner. I had outlined it up to a certain point, but I hadn't outlined the second half and the resolution. So once I realized that that was a problem, it was literally the sentence a day method, like making a beat sheet. Like, okay, this happens more than a sentence, but even if it was just one sentence, I was moving forward. Like, okay, this, like maybe 10 or 12 things that needed to happen next to the end of the book. And I came back with so much clarity
Yes, you did.
that when COVID hit, I mean, I always tell this story that COVID hit first, but the fact of the matter is, I made the chart before COVID hit because I marked down when lockdown started on my writing chart, you know.
Yes.
So, we knew it was coming. We knew it was in the air, and I thought,
Yeah, I'd had to cancel my trip to Manila
yeah,
because
I was like,
I could see what was coming.
it was like,
So
forget the ancestors. I might die before I
okay,
finish this book.
so
So that was the
I
thing.
wanted to stop. I wanted to stop you at this point and to kind of recap. We can see the what the challenge was. We can see the resistance to the challenge. We can see the moment and the reasoning that she accepted the challenge. And now you're seeing the messy way creativity actually works. You do this, you go here, you go there. You research, you write, you're frustrated. That's all the crap. Creativity is not a pretty thing. You only see the end of it. So I wanted to give her some time to talk about her road of trials, the stuff she did, so you don't have the illusion that that book just appeared full born from the brow of Zeus or
I
something.
wish.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
You think
You
I
love the
don't?
work. You love the work. So let's go on to the next thing. And this is not in order because the next step actually takes place at the same time as the road of trials. It's gathering of allies and expression and development of powers. So who are the people that assisted you in this process?
Well,
Who were
honey,
your
you
greatest allies?
you were number one, two, and three in terms of just being there with the daily walk. And also by this in this time, we were developing it as a potential TV series. So that was also a
Right.
distraction. You know, when I'm supposed to be writing my book, but I'm trying to also pitch it as a, well, wait, no, that was later. So you were one, two, and three. I would next shout out Aaron Kimmerly, the researcher at the University of South Florida, who did so much research about the Dozier School and has such a thorough report that it made it really easy to find the pieces that helped me see my way through the story. My agent, I got to shout out Donald Moss. I mean, takes some big swings. And one idea, I wanted to fire him on the spot, but then he follows that up quickly with a great idea, which is like the best twist in the whole book. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'll keep him. Um, it
I
was
know that idea. I know the one you're talking about.
it was just a great idea. I mean, what can I say? I mean, we had our ups and downs. He didn't think the book was going to be as big. He told me it wasn't even ready when I turned it into him. But he was an ally, and I am very grateful to that. And so, but you, the researcher, Don's input, those were my biggest, and my dad,
Your
obviously. My
dad,
dad
that's
was a
right.
big ally going on those research
Tell
trips.
us the most specific thing that your dad contributed, because it was in some ways his last chance to give to you in your life and in career. That was
That
the
is a
last
good
big
point.
one, probably.
Well, my father was a civil rights activist in the 1960s, and my book is set in 1950, but there isn't a whole lot of difference between a rural courtroom in Florida in 1950 and the 1960s. So he was extraordinarily helpful and inspired the character I named John Dorsey. My father's full name is John Dorsey Dew. So he is John Dorsey, the young, handsome NAACP attorney who appears very briefly as a way of showing how much the system is a monster. That she can even bring in a high-powered NAACP lawyer. And my dad taught me, like I said, Dad, what do you say? It's Jim Crow, it's 1950, everything's racist. How do you talk to a judge in this scenario? What do you even say to the judge? And he told me lots of little Easter eggs that ended up in the story. That there was this kind of fascination with Northern Blacks. I mean, still this, paternalistic attitude, but more likely to call you Attorney Do, which was shocking to my Southern characters. Are like, what the hell? Because you're boy, uncle, girl. But this kind of almost treating him like he was an ambassador from a different country because he was just so curious about a Northern lawyer. He talks funny. He's got a degree. So there was that.
Talking monkey.
Yeah, exactly. And there was also using humor to disarm. Steve, my dad has an amazing sense of humor. That's the biggest lesson I think he's teaching me now as he's
Yes,
aging. He's just
absolutely.
got this great sense of humor. So he would use humor to try to make the judge kind of see you person to person, break the ice. That was also a tactic Thurgood Marshall used, and my dad used it. So he really helped walk me through. Like anyone who reads that and feels like, wow, she sounds like she really knows what she's talking about. It's because of my dad in those scenes
I
in
I
particular.
I desperately need you people to understand the implications of what she just said. In Think and Grow Rich, talk about the mastermind principle. The mastermind is the only known principle that can compensate for a lack of talent or intelligence. That you surround yourself with people who have the skills and abilities that you do not have, and you listen to them. That if you do that, you can literally operate above your level of skill. And that's a skill of its own. So let's go on to the question of what were the abilities? Because remember that we're talking about that step is allies and powers. And I need you to not be modest here, and I will fill in if you can't do it. Because
Okay.
what
I think I
what
might
are
be
you?
up to it.
I hope so because I need you to own your magnificence. It's like
Okay.
you got to own your fabulousness. Who is Tananarive do? What is it that you brought to this? Why were you that bitch in terms of this?
Well, my wheelhouse is horror rooted in family trauma. As I look at a lot of my books, that is a recurring theme. And this is systemic trauma and it has a haunting involved. But at its core, I was trying to heal my own past family trauma, the hole that was left when my uncle died. It might explain why his brother was so damn violent toward my grandmother. It might explain some attitudes that got passed down generation by generation. So I'm trying to heal that. Um, and also, I think this story gave me a real opportunity to show a couple of young people standing up against the man, underdogs standing up against the system, people who feel hopeless. And so that was something I was very invested in the Black Lives Matter movement, and I still give money to bail funds. And Mother's Day, there was a bail fund to get mothers out of prison for Mother's Day, and that is probably my top social justice issue. So writing about basically mass incarceration in the form of a children's prison was exactly the thing I wanted to be writing about. And the thing that sustained me was, I mean, I wasn't saying this to myself. It had been many years since I had written a solo novel. It's very easy for me to say to myself now, I'm a world-class writer. But I didn't feel like a world-class writer when I was writing the reformatory. But I did at least have the memory of having written other books that seemed hard, especially My Soul to Keep, which was very similar in the sense that who the hell am I to be writing this? I'm 28 years old. I haven't seen the world really. I'm writing about a 500-year-old immortal who's been everywhere, and just remembering that it all started with that blank page, and you just do the research and you do a lot of pretending and acting, and before you know it, you're at the end. So I could draw on the experience. Tananarive Due is an experienced writer. I almost fell out of my chair yesterday when I told my students at UCLA that I had written this short story 25 years ago. I kept staring at the date, 2000, that's 25. So I've been writing a long time. I've had a lot of beginnings, middles, and ends, and very few projects had thrown me off. There was one book I started and never finished, like back in the day, between the between and My Soul to Keep. But other than that, I've always finished everything. So I could draw on that memory of completion, that memory of success to help spur me on, even when I didn't feel like Tananarive Due world-class writer.
No, really, really important here. Do you guys hear that she can have the sales and she can have the awards and the reviews and the acclaim and be able to say without a hint of irony, I'm a world-class writer, and still fall into the depths of despair? If you can understand that, it will help you contextualize your process of creating anything that will move you forward. Because now the rubber's about to meet the road. Because the next moment is you encounter evil and are defeated. Now, the evil is not, that's the way you say it,
Yeah,
but it's your greatest point of opposition. And in this case, it wasn't evil. It was a magnificent person another magnificent writer who saw the same potential. Tell us about what happened.
Yeah, Colson Whitehead, Pulitzer Prize winner. That's all. The New York Times announced his new book like 6 months before it came out, which who gets that kind of treatment? I guess if you're Colson Whitehead. So I had retweeted it without even reading it. Like, oh, great. Colson Whitehead has a new novel. I just retweeted it. And a friend of mine from the MFA program where I was teaching flagged it for me and was that, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that novel? And then I read what it was about, and my heart, my stomach, everything fell to the floor. I thought I had blown it. I had waited so long and taken so long that someone else was going to tell my story, is how it felt. I mean, and it was like, lots of tears. I remember being at a pitch meeting, like practically in tears, talking to the executive. I think I was even almost talking to Crystal about it at the time back in the day, and talked to you, obviously, talked to my agent, and my agent, once again, earning his keep. He told me, well, he said, first of all, just keep writing your book. There's enough room for both of those books. Now, I did not believe a word of that, by the way. Right? I was going to pretend I believed it just so I could finish the book. He said, there's enough room for both of these books. And did you know that there was another book about the Underground Railroad that came out at the same time as Colson Whitehead's book about the Underground Railroad? And I was thinking, no, I don't know that. You know why? No one's read that book. But anyway, it was enough to make the cramping in my stomach. I mean, I'm telling you, grief, it was like somebody died. It really felt like a death when I heard about Colson's book. And I want to give him a little credit too, because we were mutuals on Twitter. And I was like, oh, so new book. I think I DM'd him, or maybe it was not even private. I said, are there any ghosts in your book? Because his previous book had been magical realism, y'all. Underground Railroad was magical realism. And if he had had ghosts and nickel boys, I'm telling you, I do not think I would have finished that. I do, but he said, no ghosts, my friend. And that was like, okay, let me just keep going.
So she just detailed the confrontation with evil, which ultimately was not about Colson Whitehead. It was about her reaction to Colson Whitehead. It was the weakness within herself.
Yeah.
Because the dark night of the soul is the moment when it feels that all of your efforts and all of your capacities are insufficient to meet the task at hand. And when the task is one of honoring your ancestors, that's a pit of despair. I cannot honor my ancestors. I cannot walk in the light of my mother's heart. I can't do that.
I've let my dad down, I've let myself down. It was just the worst. It was the worst feeling.
So the way through the dark night of the soul is the leap of faith. Now
Like I told
tell
you, I did
us.
not believe my agent saying that there was room for both.
So
But
what did you believe? What ultimately was the
I
spark?
believe that maybe there were by some miracle there was a chance. It wasn't like strong belief, but it was faith that if I kept writing, it would lead me somewhere.
So would you say that it was faith in yourself, or was it faith in the story itself, your ancestors? Was it what was the faith in ultimately? It's going to be one of
I
those
think
three.
it
In
was all
yourself.
the I would think it was all the faiths, a higher
Good,
power,
good. Yes.
the ancestors as my allies and myself that okay, well, it may not be close on my head and it's not going to win a Pulitzer Prize probably, but I'm going to make this the Tananarive Dewist book that I can write.
It may be the Tananarive Doist book you've ever written.
It's so far it is.
Well, I don't know. Well, the reformatory broke you into it clarified a bunch of different thematic things and technical things that you've been doing in your work into and brought you to a new level. I believe that Bear Creek Lodge, your book after that, is you playing at that next level, not striving to get there. It's
Right. It's
like
me
it's
like,
it's like
we
the that's right. The reformatory is you climbing to the top of Dog Mountain. Bear Creek Lodge is you dancing at the top of Dog Mountain. So it's the same altitude, but you weren't struggling. You were having fun because you had earned your way there. So you faced evil again, and this time you were victorious. You finished your book,
finished
and
the
you
book,
fin.
sold it at the best advance I'd had in years. It sold more than 100,000 copies. Briefly made the USA Today list after Sinners came out because people keep saying if you like Sinners, you'll like the Reformatory.
And last step is the student becomes the teacher. This is the part where it's fun because it's such a natural transition. And we're teaching a screenwriting workshop tomorrow that you can still sign up for at
Oh, that's right.
www.writerwebinar.com.
I
That
forgot
address
all about
again,
that. Yeah.
bec- because we're
www.writerwebinar.
hitting these new levels and we love sharing how we're doing this with you. So go to www.writerwebinar.com. The
Well,
student
since you
becomes.
brought it up, we've done a lot of television development. We've written a lot of pilots together. We've had a lot of things get close. We've had some things get on the air, but we've never directed before. And I mean, what's absolutely true is that we would not have been tapped to direct anything if we weren't already writing scripts. So it's just another way to get a seat at the table. Even if you just publish a short story, when we did Horror Noir, I brought to those producers a short story by someone I was teaching in my horror class who had never, I mean, she's maybe written two or three stories ever that had been published. This was her first adaptation. Stephanie Malia Morris is her name. I was struggling for it, but I got it. And she got that check, she got it option and she got her little check. But Steve and I, because we could write screenplays, we could also adapt the actual script, which is a much bigger check than an option check in most cases. I mean, unless
Yeah, and we're
you're, I don't,
looking for opportunities. And this is one of the things we're going to talk about, honestly, in the screenwriting workshop, is that we've seen a different way in now. And just to give you a taste of what we're talking about, is look at the things that we did. We wrote short stories, we wrote novels. We optioned those things, had all these conversations, built up relationships. We created a short film 10 years ago, Danger Word. We created more recently a radio play, The Walker, which enabled it. We then were producing, directing, writing, and so forth, the whole thing, as well as distributing and overseeing the editing. That's comparable to actually making a movie. That we understanding all those different aspects of things. So we're constantly, it's like, how do you prepare yourself to move forward? You learn all the skills that are necessary at that next level. If you flipping burgers at McDonald's, you should have your eye on the manager. What does the manager do? Because that's the job you're going to take. Okay, we are writers, but what do we want? What I wanted was to have a movie done from one of my works. It's my last remaining major life goal. I never thought about directing. I never considered directing. I really hadn't in any way at all. And then this opportunity dropped into our lap where people wanted us to direct a version of our book, The Keeper. This is such a new challenge that we're both on in completely new territory, calling us to learn new things, make new connections, develop new skills. By the time we're finished making this short, we're going to be different people. There is no way to predict, using that magic formula thing, there is literally no way to predict what opportunities will come our way if we do a good job with this. None. We can guess some things, but who's going to see it? Who's going to think about it? We're going to pick up the phone and somebody's going to be on the other end of it making an offer to us that we had no dream of, because that's the way it goes. And all of that comes out of looking at these 10 steps. What's your goal? What do you want to do? What are you afraid of in connection with it? How are you going to motivate yourself to keep going anyway? What is the road of trials? How do you eat an elephant? One forkful at a time. You divide it up until you have pieces that are small enough that you can finish that piece in a single day. Okay, then you just do that day. Now, when we tell you, write a sentence a day, that's all we're doing is we're taking what is the smallest unit of writing that is actually complete, one sentence. If you make a promise to yourself that come what may, you're going to do that one sentence a day, you're a writer. You write that sentence, you're a writer that day. You don't need more than that. So you can get rid of the guilt, the fear that stops you from seeing further, and keep going. What I want to do is get Tanri, give us some capping comments about your entire experience here, and then let's go and start taking questions from people, and and I ask them, tell me, where are you on the hero's journey, and let's work with that. But Tanri, give us some closing words about this phase of the show.
Yeah, I'm exhausted just remembering that process. So I hope that was helpful to some of you, no matter what it is. It doesn't have to be a writing project, any kind of major project where you have to eat it one piece at a time, like an elephant or whatever. It's the practice that gets you through. It's the either the sentence a day, and on some days that was all I did. But once I put that wall chart up, and this is maybe the best thing I can impart. If you have a big goal that you can track numerically in some kind of way, or with a check mark or an X, like did you do anything to, or what did you do? Like even writing what you did that day to get toward your goal, you can see, I mean, it's so clarifying, all the zeros. Or it's so clarifying all the days you did, like, because you're telling yourself, oh, I'm not getting anywhere, I'm not moving. It's like, no, I'm doing every day. Look what I'm doing every day. There's no way you're going to keep doing that stuff as long as you're doing the right things. You've done some research, so you're directing your things where they're supposed to be going. You're going to get there. It's
And
like
allow me to
down the
say,
road. You're
just
going
very
to
briefly,
arrive somewhere.
you had to do this and never drop the ball on being a mother to our son,
True.
and never drop the ball on being my very good baby and making our house a home. You never drop the ball on that stuff, sweetheart. And having a pattern, writing it down, having a chart, getting it out of your head onto a page where you can look at it, enabled you to kind of be sure that you were never dropping a ball at all. You've gotten to the point where you can juggle 8 balls. You can juggle 3 chainsaws. You've been doing this long enough. But what I wanted to say that the result that you have gotten from this is not a surprise. It is an affirmation, and it's a blessing. And as far as I'm concerned, this is just who you are. And this is what you have deserved, this level of success for a very long time.
Well, thank you, darling. I didn't expect it. I had given up. I'm having a bestseller, still trying to get on that New York Times list. But
You
in
will.
some ways it doesn't matter. I really feel like the reformatory is that feeling that I wanted from a long time ago in my career when Elon Harris was one of my mentors. His last email to me was, you'll get on that list one day. And I feel like I have. So it's been beautiful. I'm just going to enjoy it for what it is. I mean, how foolish would it be for me to be sitting on the kind of success this book has gotten and nitpicking about, well, but I didn't get on the New York Times list. Come on, that's nuts. I mean, quit
That's right.
moving the goalpost. It's a great. I caught the ball, spike, touchdown.
99.9% of writers would love to be where you are right
Yeah, I
now.
mean that's crazy. Yeah,
Absolutely love it. So thank you so much for
thank
sharing. Let's
you.
kind of give her a hand, and then
Thank
let's kind of
you.
open things up here. Raise your hands, people. I want very much to have a chance to you tell me where you are on the hero's journey, or you can describe a win or an issue that you've had in the last week, and you can talk about, but I want to do it within this particular structure because I want everybody to have something to take home from the meeting today. That is a real understanding of how the process, that you're on is the most important thing. I often tell people, students, I don't care about the quality of a story you wrote. I care about the process with which you wrote it. Because if we can refine your process, you'll eventually get to anywhere you want to go. You will eventually reach the highest level that you're capable of reaching. Don't worry about the individual days or the individual stories. Worry about the integrity of your process. And the hero's journey is as profound as I believe that it is the collected wisdom of all the world's elders trying to tell the young people of the tribe, this is the structure of life. That's what I believe. Orion,
Hello.
hello.
Um, I'm I want to tell you what has happened.
Please.
When I first came here, I couldn't walk. My world had shrunk to my living room. Since then, I have gotten my knee replaced. I have survived that. My world is opening up. And yesterday I walked around the gym only using my cane instead of my walker.
Yes.
Oh, bless you. Bless you.
And I'm so happy. And then I used
Oh,
just my cane to help someone else. And that felt good too.
that's being of service, sweetheart.
Thank you. That's
I
what
absolutely,
I do. It's in
this
my
is, this is awesome. It is awesome, Orion. I'm so proud of you.
thank you.
It's so wonderful. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing that story of transformation with us. Allow me to ask you a question, and this is not intended to be self-serving in the slightest. How did we help you? What was it that coming here did for you? Please help me understand so I can do more of that.
Um, I got started using morning ritual, and then I started using reading the goals morning and night and checking whether I had actually worked on those goals during the day. And I'm getting so much more done that way. It's wonderful.
Oh, God. See, this is why I do this. This is why I take every Friday and do this, Orion, because of you. Because of all of the yous out there, because I see myself in you and you see yourself in me enough that you can hear what I'm saying and it touches you. I am so profoundly grateful to have been able to be of any benefit to you at all. And
I would
that
not be
makes my
where
day.
I would not be where I am without you. I would not. I would
Well,
still be sitting in my living room.
understood. And understand that I can accept that, but still hear what I'm saying. You did this. You did every bit of it. You did every single bit of it. In one sense, I don't even exist. You called me into existence by an act of will and magic. Okay?
I can see that.
You did this for you. And I am incredibly proud of you. This
Thank
is this is this is what life is about, sweetheart.
you.
Is us sharing our journey in a way that we can escape suffering, embrace joy, and to be of service.
Be of
And
service.
I
Yeah.
will give my life for the people on this path. I have nothing better to live and die for than to help create this path and tell people how I'm walking it. And thank God, some of the things that I am experiencing and doing are of use to others. What a blessing. Isn't that wonderful?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're,
Thank
thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Oh gosh. Man. God, I love this. So, who's next? Who wants to share with us next? Glenn. Glenn Olson. Glenn, are you there? He's not there.
Yes, I
Oh,
am.
yes, you are. All right. So, Glenn,
Tur-
this is the one
It
I would like to.
turned out I had to find the unmute button.
Gotcha. So, tell us where you are in terms of the hero's journey in some major issue in your life.
Well, very interestingly, um, I have I think I shared with you, I have a novel probably coming out uh, later this summer, and the trials and challenges of that are sort of in my rearview mirror. But now I'm reconstituting a novel that I tried and put away several years ago in a genre that I don't um, usually write in, which is modern spy slash police murder, kind of the Dan Brown things. Very
Mhm.
new genre for me to try to foray into. Um, and I've been stuck. I haven't been able to progress for about a year on it. And I finally realized that I have not gathered enough people to be my helpmates and um, powers. So I've actually asked people that I'm very
Can you define what the missing pieces are?
the, the,
What do you
the,
need that you don't currently have?
um, what I don't currently have is clarity on um, this. I have a bones of the story, but I don't have the clarity of what I want the person to get out of it.
Okay,
I want them
so
to be entertained.
let me ask you a question. And please forgive my interruptions. I want to be, to the degree that I can, be an ally on your path. Do you know the climax of your story?
I do not. I am
Okay, okay,
pantsing it.
okay. Might I suggest that because you put this away for a long time, that you not pants it? Try plotting it. You know, there's no downside to it. So you say, I don't know what he gets out of it. That's not pantsing it. That's saying, I need to understand where I'm going to get there. There are people who are operating at a high enough level of integration that they don't need to do that. They just sit down and write and it all works out. And God bless them. You and I might not be those people. Okay. So if you don't know where what your climax is and you don't know what your character is getting, then go back and look at your character. You characters I are perfect people with wounds. The events in your story are designed to give them the opportunity to learn what they need to know to heal those wounds. Okay? To fulfill their life mission. If it's James Bond, it's just fulfill the mission of the job that he was given. Unless it's a Daniel Craig James Bond movie, in which it's understanding that he was born to be a bulldog. He's a barely leashed sociopath with mommy issues who needs something to give his life meaning. And that's what he found at the end of Skyfall. And it took the death of his mother figure to make him realize that that was his place in the world, right? So, what is your character's biggest wound? What do they need?
Very good. What's he getting out of it?
No, no, no. I didn't say that. I
No.
did not say that. I said, what does he need? One step at a time, buddy.
Hmm.
So I'm asking you
Uh,
right now, what
yep.
does your character need? Where is the wound? You got seven basic levels of what a human being is that
Mhm.
are, in my mind, the most complete model of a human being in existence, which is the yogic chakras, right? Right there behind me. Is the wound survival? They need to survive. They're literally, their life is at risk, and all they need to do is to survive. Is the wound sexual? It has to do with some twist in their wiring in that way, or the desire to satisfy sexual hunger? Is their need for greater power and authority, their ability to control their existence? Is their wound in the heart? They need love, or to love themselves, or to express love. Is it in communication? They need to learn or to teach something. Is it in their intellect? They don't understand the world. They don't understand, and what they need is to get themselves off of a wrong path and onto a right path by changing maps, by developing a more accurate map of reality. Or is it spiritual, facing death, asking themselves what is the meaning of their lives in the context of an uncaring universe? I don't know, but I can guarantee you that what they need is related to one of those seven things. So you tell me your best guess right now. What does your character need?
He had a failure, and the failure resulted in somebody's death, and he's trying to come back from that.
Okay, so they need to
His
forgive themselves. They need to redeem themselves. They need to compensate for it. What do they need?
he needs to redeem himself. His
So,
and his self. He's hiding. He's a shell now. His internal his internal confidence is gone, but he doesn't want
okay,
anyone to know that.
so he was responsible for the failure that cost another human being their life.
Yes,
Okay, so redeeming him, what would he need to do in order to redeem himself? What would be necessary?
he'd have to win his next event, his next case, in a way that was honorable by his own moral code.
And also had enough at stake that it was a reasonable metaphor for the case that he lost. You know, if you lose a client, you save a child or something like that. You know, that it has to be the kind of thing where
It's
if
the
he can
balance.
win this, if he can do this, he's not saving the person, that person is saving him. You know, that now, can you set up your climax so that that those are the stakes? A human being who, if he can do this, he redeems himself. He, something that is sufficient. I'm willing to die for just a chance at redemption at this. You tear away all of his bullshit, all of that hollowness, which is nothing more than the kind of dissociation that children go through if they've been abused. I'm not going to connect with my humanity anymore. It hurts too much to be me. I don't care about anything. I don't feel anything. In the process of your story, he needs to feel the pain that he has disconnected himself from, and it will be horrible. But it will also be the beginning of actually draining the swamp, actually pumping the sewage from the basement of his castle. And now he can stand and say, I am this. I have made mistakes, but I am a man who is willing to die to make it right. I am worthy, the meaning of life, escape suffering, embrace joy, be of service. If he can be of service to this person, he can escape suffering and maybe smile again, maybe feel that he's worthy of love again. So you make the climax is the moment when everything's at stake. It is the biggest thing. If everything is at stake, he's going to lose more than he thought he had to lose. But if he can bring forth from himself more than he has ever done before, if he can put more at stake on the table, he wins the girl, the gold watch, and everything. You get to decide whether or not he wins. But that is the way you would use life writing. Well, no,
I like
that's not
that.
true. That's the way you would use the hero's journey. The way
The
you
hero's
use
journey.
life writing is to look at something broken inside you, whether it's today or something in the past that you got through, and associate what your character needs to go through with a test you needed to pass yourself and either failed so that you can go into your own real pain about it and put that pain on the page, or you succeeded, in which case, how did you succeed? What did you go through? Use the hero's journey to understand how you did it, and look at this and say, well, how can I create an analogy of this that works in this story? Either of those things works. But I'll tell you, if you look at something that you have not solved in your life, if you go into a room in your heart that you've never gone into and looked at something that you've left undone because you just kind of worked around it in the past, and you decide that you're going to put your character through exactly what you wish life had given you, a chance to put it all on the line and heal, that you could have been a better man, a stronger man, a happier man. You could have done, that you use the story as an opportunity to heal yourself by touching what is true about you. What is true about Glenn? Who is Glenn? What is true about the world that Glenn sees? If you go into that and put that truth on the page more honestly than you ever have before, I guarantee you this will be the best writing of your life.
I see the path. Thank you.
Superb. You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. And you understand, I hope you understand that when I talk to you about this, what I'm really doing is talking to myself, that I'm reminding myself of what I need to do, because your ego does not want to die. And any true act kills your ego, because your ego is not true. Your ego is not real. The more deeply the truth of the act, the more of your ego is destroyed in the process. So I am, and we all are just clever enough to hide the truth from ourselves. We're all just that smart. So if you deliberately ask yourself, what am I not looking at? I could have been perfect. Just say I could have been an Olympic athlete who was a beautiful, loving soul with loving, children and wife. And I could have been worth millions of dollars doing something ethical and express myself artistically. That's what my potential was, but my bullshit got in the way. I did not tell myself the truth about what I wanted or who I was or what was true in the world. I get the chance to revisit what I have left behind and bring it, reach down into what Harlan called the burning core of who you are and what is true, and put that on the page, like Tananarive went into the truth of the reformatory, what happened at the school for boys, and created a metaphor using ghosts instead of rubbing people's noses in racism and pain and abuse. It's ghosts that enables them to take the same journey, to heal a family tragedy, to create the ending that her granduncle should have had, and to honor her family despite her fear that she wasn't good enough. That's life writing. That's as good as I know how to set somebody up to do the best work of their life, because the what is to do the best book of your life. The why is because you're running out of time, man. You don't have forever to do this. It's time to step up. Whatever has happened in your past that made you less than the absolute best Glenn you can be, you have another chance to kick its ass. You really do. The rest is just how. It's just the list of things I have to write every day. I have to research. I have to talk to these people. I have to do that. That's all really interesting. Get clear on the what to write the best fucking book of your life. And the why, because you want the world to know that Glenn Olson was here. And you want to honor the little boy you were and show him the man you are. Does that make sense?
Very much. Very much.
Excellent. Isn't this fun?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Oh God, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. You're a good guy. I've known you for a long time, and there's never been a harsh word between us. I honor that, and I honor you, and I want you to write a really excellent book. Okay, let me move on to whoever is next. Who's
Okay.
next?
I could talk
Yeah.
a little bit. I'm just writing fan fiction and I'm having fun doing it.
There's
But
nothing wrong with that. That's how Tananarive started.
right. And I want to write I want to write really good fan fiction. I don't
Yeah.
want to write just crap, you know, just because it's wish fulfillment or whatever. I want to tell stories that other people would like about the characters that I love. And so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I'm kind of a pantser. And I just wanted to say that what you just told me gave me little sparks for my next cycle, because what I've done, it's good omens. So I've got, you know, the angel and the demon, and they're living in South Downs because I put it post season 3 because we don't know what season 3 is. And I like to try to stay sort of canonical, more or less, while ripping off canon. And so I don't like AUs. I don't like, you know, all of the wish fulfillment stuff that a lot of other fan writers write. But I've got them having children, and they've just had a baby. They had
Let me
twins.
ask you a question. I need to
But
ask you a question, Star Shadow. Is there
sure,
a part of you that would like to actually publish one of your stories and get paid for it?
no, not really.
Okay, fair enough.
The
Fair enough.
anything I could make from writing would raise my income above the level that I can get the things that I need to survive, but it wouldn't raise it enough to get me to where I could pay for the things that I need to survive, if that makes
I
sense.
understand. You're in the donut hole.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm writing this just surely because of love of the characters. That's why I'm doing the fan fiction route. And I love these characters very, very much, but I want to
Oh,
do kind of justice. So I
okay.
have this whole cycle that I've kind of invented, you know, my head canon, as it were, that they have a family. They're living in South Downs in their cottage, but they're not really retired, because how do you know, an immortal couple retire really? So I have like they're sort of guardians of the earth, as it were, you know. And so I raised the twins to be 6 years old, nearly 7, and they've had another baby, and you know they're going to be raising the baby. So I'm going to do my next year. The twins are 7, and the baby's going to be growing from infancy to a year old. And I've just gotten sparks of ideas on how to do that because I'm kind of a pan.
Okay. So, um, let's look at this from the position of not being a pantser.
Okay.
That you want to be the absolute best fan fiction writer that you're capable of being, and you want to produce a story that people will be talking about for a generation.
Oh yeah,
There
that would
you
be
go.
fun.
Okay, so what's the story?
The story, you mean the background of the characters
No, 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 no.
or
You
the
want to write a
story?
story.
I
Are
don't
you working
have
on a
the
story
next.
writer?
The story I'm working on now is taking the children through primary school in the UK, and there's
Okay,
several
so fine.
subplots that I've
So
done.
who's the character? Who's the lead character? Who's the point of view?
In the current work in progress, it's the twins who are named
No, no,
initially.
no. Twins, a person,
A
one person.
person, probably one of the twins, Miracle.
Okay, that's fine. And the truth is that if the twins have the same goal, then you can have dual protagonists.
Yes, they do.
Okay, fine. So you can have the twins. Where is it? What is the journey you want them to go on from being this way at one point internally to another way, to learn, to grow, to change? What is the change you would like for them to experience?
Well, they've actually gone through most of it right in the work on progress, because I'm up to chapter 22 of the piece.
I
But
see.
it's kind of episodic almost, and
Okay,
that's
so I need you
later.
to not be writing a book for the moment. I need
Okay,
you to pull a story out of that book so that you can
okay.
actually wrap your mind around it. So
This
this a story is about a moment in which someone changes.
right.
So back to the question, this story, which is going to be maybe no more than 10 pages long, what is the change that you want the twins to experience? They're in a maturation thing. Okay, what's the change? They need to learn something, change something, see something. What is it?
They're learning how to help other kids their age, who are human kids, be the best mortals they can be. Uh, it's
How
just
old are
kind
these
of hard to
kids?
explain. They're 6, going on
Okay, and
nearly
they're
7.
6 going on 7, and they're thinking like enlightened beings, basically.
Yeah, they're very, very, very bright, but they have to fit in and fly under the radar, so to speak. They have to like be like kids. Like people don't know they're an angel and demon. Uh,
Okay. So
eh,
what is it that they need to learn in
how
order to be able to do this thing
how
that
to
you want
help
them to do?
how to help the other kids in the village, um, basically survive and be good people, grow up to be good
What
people.
do they
They're
need to learn in
what
order
do
to be
they
able to do that?
Well, they're doing a lot. They're very, very bright.
Yes, but what is their lack? Remember I said that you take a
They
perfect
need to
person,
have a
you
lack.
give
Oh,
them a wound.
their
What is
lack
their
is
wound?
sometimes they don't know how mortals think. They don't know how.
So from your point of view, what is the difference between the way they think and mortals think?
Probably having a shorter lifespan than they will ever
So
have.
they don't understand mortality.
They don't understand mortality, right?
So the story is about the moment at which they came to understand mortality. They came to
Okay,
understand death.
okay, that's
Because that is the key that helps them understand, oh, I have not been able to help people because I never understood people at all. So what if it's about the moment at which they come to understand death, it will be because something they care about dies for the first
yeah.
time in their
Okay,
existence.
all right. Enlightenment.
Okay? Okay? So
I can
I
work.
would say that if no one if no one they care about has ever died, that's a massive shift. It's a massive change, and they will, that the idea is they cannot change it, they cannot heal it, they cannot understand it. Why are people crying in this way? Why this? Why? You have the chance to make them care about somebody, show them trying to help people and be incapable of doing it because they're really missing what people are. The difference between being an immortal and a mortal in that sense, you're saying, I want that you get it in your mind. What is it that immortality stops us from understanding? And one of the things that would stop us from understanding is all of the things that human beings do in denial of death or to cope with death or from
Mhm.
fear of death. They don't understand any of those things. None of them. And kids, it's so easy to not have empathy with anything that you have not understood. So if you decide to write a story about the moment they changed forever because they finally understood death, that's a story.
Okay,
Okay?
okay. I like that. Thank
All
you.
right. You betcha. Good, good, good. Good, good, good. So, are you guys seeing this? You seeing what happens when you take the hero's journey? And does Nikki Roos understand? Nikki, I see that picture of yours up there. Can you join us?
Hi. Yes,
Hello.
I'm beginning to understand as I'm listening.
Great. So, where are you on the hero's journey in some important aspect of your life? Are you
Um,
looking for a challenge? Are you fearful of the challenge and avoiding it? Are you getting yourself together to accept it? The road of trials, gathering allies, developing abilities, dealing with fear. Where are you?
I would say I've accepted the responsibility, so now I am gathering the skills. So I'm
Okay, don't
actually,
skip over the road of trials. That you
I'm not
have to be
trying to.
taking. Okay, good. If you've accepted responsibility, you can gather the skills forever and not act. You have to act, and as you act, gather skills. It's critical. One of the biggest mistakes people make is they research forever, they plan forever, but life is understood in the acting in the same way that food is understood in the eating of it. That you have to engage with life. Otherwise, what you'll do is you'll bounce around with your ideas about what life is. So, what are the actions? And if this is a private thing, I'm not trying to get in your business, but every day you should be taking one step at the same time that you're gathering skills and allies and understanding. Can you share with us one step you can take today that will move you into the world of tomorrow?
Well, I feel like that step was being on this call right now.
Excellent, excellent. That's a perfect choice. That's a perfect choice. Okay, so let's design your step for tomorrow then.
I'll be in your writing workshop tomorrow.
Fantastic. Well, that's really great. And so then it'll be a matter of, so you have a goal of finishing a screenplay,
Yes.
and you have a goal of getting a movie made.
Yes.
Of sitting in a movie. I want you to close your eyes right now and imagine yourself sitting in a movie theater surrounded by friends, family, and strangers, and the lights go down and the curtains part and the movie starts to play, and you see your name as the writer on the screen. And then the movie plays, and people are laughing, cheering, screaming, whatever the emotions are that you want them to feel. And then at the end, they applaud. They applaud, and they walk out of the theater feeling the emotions that you wanted them to feel, so that all of the stress you went through, everything you did was all worth it. All worth it. Every bit of the struggle was real, but it was worth it. And you feel renewed. If you can hold that feeling, it will get you through the entire process of writing your script. That I want you to connect with that feeling every day. Before you start writing, close your eyes, imagine the movie, imagine the success, because all the insecurity is going to hit you. It's always going to happen. You heard Tananarive Do, one of the great writers, talking about how she went into that pit of despair. I promise you that I have with every single project. It's coming for you. It'll be there. And your character in your story is also going to deal with that despair. If you are aware of it in yourself, you get to actually use those feelings in your work. That's not writing based on something you saw in a movie or a book or something someone told you. That's going into that burning core and finding your own fear and your own despair, but also understanding victory. And if you need more help with that, go back at things you've done in the past. Identify the greatest victories of your life and identify the moment in which you lost all hope, in which it seemed like nothing was going to happen, nothing was going to go right. It was all, but you came out of it. And you're a grown-ass woman now, which means you have gone through these cycles countless times. Countless times. That emotional thing is what is missing from all writing programs except ours, quite frankly, is this aspect of it. There are going to be better people with helping you control yourself, and better people, better writing instructors. But what I feel very comfortable with is saying that nobody's like us. What you are about to do is set out on your own journey. And if you know in advance that it's going to hurt, and it's going to be work, and you're going to need allies and powers, it's going to be a moment, and that moment's going to come a little bit every day. It's going to you're going to get a little bit of every day, a little more of it every week. Yeah, those tears are good. See, that means you're touching what's real. See, that's for real, right there. That being able to access those emotions, that's your strength. That's your strength. Okay? What I want from you is simply to say, every day I'm going to write at least one sentence. Write at least one sentence, one line of dialogue, just one thing. And if you do that, then you'll come out of the other side of our writing workshop, and you're going to be a writer. Any day that you write, you're a writer. If you're just planning, you're a planner. You're not a writer. So I want you to write and plan and gather allies. And I am honored to be one of the allies that you have called into existence.
Thank you.
Isn't this good? Isn't this... See, this is what we're supposed to be with each other. None of us make it through life alone. None of us. Ever. Ever. So I am honored, Nikki. And by the way, that's my daughter's name. Lauren Nicole Barnes. And I call her Nikki. So on an energetic level, for the purpose of what we're doing, You are my daughter. Will you accept that on an energetic level?
Absolutely. Thank you so
Fan, you're more than welcome. This is the way life is supposed to be.
much.
I could not have asked for a better last person to talk to today. Could not. Is there anything else I could do for you today?
No, I am full. I am so full right
Fantastic.
now.
So
Thank you.
you join us tomorrow, you know, and any of the others of you who would like to be part of something that if this calls to you, if you can feel this, I don't have, I'm not really good at wearing masks. This is who I am. And I do this partially because I need to be myself for a few minutes every week. I can do that around my son and my wife. I can do that around people like you who will let me literally, if you talk about how miserable you are, people will be more approving than if you talk about being hopeful and dynamic. And I believe in life and I believe in success and I can do it. People will jump on you for that. It's amazing. So we gather together. So come to the LifeRight site, liferight.com, join up totally free. It's a totally positive community, no politics, just positives. And then come to screenwriting tomorrow. Bring everything you've got. I guarantee that you're going to bring away a lot. And if any of you want to do it, please www.writerwebinar.com. Join the screenwriting group. There's still time to do this. This is who we are and what we do. And if it calls to your heart, be a part of it. Thank you very much, Nikki. Bless you, dear. Bless you, my child. You're one of my energetic daughters, sweetheart. I want you to change the world and make a little money in the process. Make that bag, sweetheart. All right. So I'd like everybody to unmute yourselves and to say goodbye. We've had another
So, long
wonderful time
farewell.
here.
See everybody next week.
Thanks,
You betcha.
everyone. Wonderful
Be
session.
Always glad to see all the regulars.
That's
On
right.
Wiedersehen,
And
everyone.
the divinity within me salutes and acknowledges the divinity within each and every one of you. Namaste. Take care. Have a wonderful weekend.
Namaste.
And hopefully I'll see some of you guys at the screenwriting workshop tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye bye.